Okay, Chair, we are live, so please go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome to today's hearing, everyone. It's Eurofoods Abbey Parade, and it's the review hearing. My name is Councillor Amarjit Jemu, and I shall be chairing the hearing. My colleagues are Councillor Praveen Anand and Councillor Julian Gallant, and I comprise of today's subcommittee. We are accompanied by Hatun Zeb, who is our legal advisor to the subcommittee, and Cornelia Harding, who's the clerk to the subcommittee and will be minuting the meeting. In accordance with the procedure, I shall invite the licensing authority to present the application for a review hearing and call any witness in respect of whom permission to appear has been given and answer any questions put to them. I shall invite the premises to make their representations, answer any questions, and invite parties to briefly sum up their respective cases. At the end of the hearing, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee clerk, we will retire to consider our decision, and the decision will be given at the end of the meeting after we retire, possibly about 30 minutes after we finish the meeting. Okay, I now call upon everyone else that's here to introduce themselves, please. Can we start with the licensing authority?
Yes, Bob Deere, Licensing Compliance and Enforcement Officer, Ealing Council.
Shane Elliott, Licensing Compliance Officer for Ealing Council.
Thank you. Applicants?
Chair, I'm not sure with the applicant. The applicant is Shane, actually, but I'm here to represent the license holder. I actually have two people with me. I have two associates that started working alongside me a couple of weeks ago. I'll introduce you to them. There's Kerry, and there's Reha.
Hi, Kerry.
Hi.
So,
Hi,
and obviously, as you know, Chair, the license holder is not with me today. That they're attending separately. So I'll let them introduce themselves now.
Hi, my name is Sarishta Habibi. I am director from Eurofood.
Hello, hi, Ahmed Sultani, license holder.
Okay, thank you. Right, I've explained the procedure already. So I'm now going to invite our licensing authority to present their case.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's an application from the Licensed Authority to Ealing Council for a review of the premises licence for Eurofoods Abbey Parade W55EE. The Licensing Authority are one of the responsible authorities under the Licensing Act 2003. On the 31st of March 2022, the Licensing Authority submitted an application for a review of the premises licence, and the statutory notices were displayed on the 31st of March 2022. A blue poster was put inside the premises, window of the premises, and one at the town hall. And also a copy of the public notice was published in the Ealing Gazette on the 6th of April 2022. This is a premises situated in a busy road on a parade of shops with mixed residential and commercial premises. The premise had been licensed since the 18th of February 2005, and it was transferred to Mr. Ahmed Sultani on the 16th of May 2016, who is also the DPS and is still the premises license holder on his own. There are 6 other offer licenses within 500 metres of these premises. I'll now invite Officer Elliott to present his evidence to the committee. Thank you.
All right.
There is a bit of an echo in the room, Mr. Elliott.
Yeah, sorry, we're sorting that out now. Okay. Yeah, on the 2nd of March this year, me, myself, and Officer Brian Gorey from Trading Standards visited the premises. We received intelligence that they were sending illicit cigarettes. So we walked in and showed our ID and explained why we was here. And while we had a sniffer dog in another premises down the road, which is also owned by Mr. Sultani as a license holder. So we secured it. Me and Mr. Gorey secured it while the dog was waiting for the dog to come in. The lady behind the counter got to step from behind the counter, and a male walked in, customer, and he asked for some cigarettes. The lady refused to serve him, saying not today, and then he walked straight out the shop. There was a second gentleman that walked in, same sort of conversation, asked for cigarettes, and she refused to serve him, said not today again. He walked out again, and when we was still waiting for the dog, and a third gentleman walked in. Immediately walked in, had a trolley, pretended to be a shopper, and then was walking around and then straight to the counter and went to pick up a bag of cigarettes. There's a carry bag, and inside was 200 cigarettes, 22 packets. I immediately stopped him, and he immediately walked out the shop. Inside, and as I said, picked up the bag, and inside the bag was 22 packets with 200 cigarettes. And the woman behind the counter immediately admitted she immediately admitted that the cigarettes were illicit, and wrote up the paperwork, and we bought this sniffer dog eventually, and we didn't find anything else. So we confiscated the bag of cigarettes and did the notice. So that's my witness statement.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Mr. Deere, is there anything else you want to add to that? Hello, Bob Deere.
Good.
Sorry, Chair. Now have to use, it was our computer that was actually echoing. I'm in the same room as Officer Elliott, sitting next to him. Yes,
Okay.
These premises have actually been reviewed before.
Okay.
In 2019.
Sorry, didn't quite hear what you said, Bob. Do you want to repeat yourself, please?
Sorry. These premises have been reviewed before by myself in 2019, when it was the decision of the committee to suspend the license for 3 months. And that was due to 2 seizures at the premises on February the 6th, 2018. Hidden on top of the drinks fridge was 57 packets of non-duty paid cigarettes and 5 pouches of roll your own tobacco. That was signed over for destruction and the final warning given. And again, on the 13th of December 2018, myself and officers from Trading Standards visited premises, and the designated premises and premises license holder, Mr. Sultani, was stood behind the counter. The purpose of the visit was explained to him, and he was seen to move something with his left hand and close a wooden door to conceal the item. When I looked behind the counter, I found 12 packets of non-duty paid cigarettes, and underneath the till, 2 packets of roll your own tobacco. In total of that visit, 1,280 cigarettes and 1.1 kilo of roll your own tobacco was seized. And I say the decision of the committee that day was to suspend the license and add 1 further condition to the current license in respect of training. And that is the evidence.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Okay, right, I'm following this checklist that I have here now. Right, I'm now going to invite questions from the applicants. So that'll be Mr. Craig representing.
I have no questions, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, do you have any questions for Mr. Deere and Mr. Elliott?
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Gallant. Councillor Gallant first, please.
Thank you very much. I've just one question. This current review cites a breach of the first licensing objective, and the previous review cited breach of the first two licensing objectives, and I just wanted to clarify why that was.
Yes, obviously that's under public safety of selling illicit cigarettes, but that has now been changed slightly, and this review is just under crime disorder.
Bob, sorry, we didn't quite hear everything you said there.
Sorry, Chair. Yes, the
Bob,
first
sorry,
review.
we didn't quite hear what you said there. Can you repeat yourself, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Basically, the selling of illicit cigarettes was part of the evidence for public safety, but now on this review, it's just for crime disorder because sell illicit cigarettes or smuggled cigarettes in a premises is an offence under Section 4.4 of the Licensing Act 2003.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Ennett?
Yes, just for clarity, I just want to know the composition of those cigarettes. It says 200 cigarettes, but then 22 packets. So is it 22 packets of 10, 22 packets of 20? Because it's not clear.
Yes, so the quantity was, in fact, it should have been 440. It was the officer took the word of the sales assistant that some of the packets had only 10 cigarettes in. They weren't. They were actually very small cigarettes in a very small packet. It should have been 22 packets, 440.
Thank you.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Councillor Ennett?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions?
Sorry, Chair.
Any other questions, councillors?
Sorry, forgive me. Sorry, Chair. I do have a question.
Did you have a question, Mr. Craig?
I do. Yes. Sorry.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you to present your case next, but did you have a question?
I did. I did for Mr. Deere, actually. Forgive me. Hello, Bob. Nice to see you. Just have there been other visits, compliance visits to the shop over the course of the last 12 months, other than the visit on the 1st of March, please? 2nd of March, forgive me.
Sorry, no, the only visit we made was, or in fact, there have been 2 visits. That was to serve the reviews. Basically, the first one was done 2 weeks earlier, but the license that was attached to the paperwork was in fact not the current license because the condition hadn't been put on, and the license from 2019 had not been produced. The second visit was to serve this review, basically, let's call it that. So, but no compliance was taken place on that time. So there was no checking of stock or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, Mr. Craig, I now invite you to present your case.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, a bit of an unusual one, this, for me. So I was called by Mariam Sultani, who's previously represented these premises, in March, in fact, informing me that there was a review application made by the licensing authority. And I'm going to lay cards on the table here because I think it's important that we do that. But it's equally important that I make some concessions about the legal position. But Ms. Habibi, who sits over Mr. Sultani, actually took these premises on from a sublease point of view and has been certainly exercising an element of control over them since, in fact, January 2019. And it's absolutely, firstly, right to concede two things in relation to that. First of all, it would have been proper at the time that the license was transferred into her name. I concede that, but equally have to concede that that hasn't happened. And so Mr. Sultani remains the license holder. And when I received this instruction, the first thing I did pretty much was to contact Kerry Smart at the Met, because any transfer of a license, it's the police who have the right to object, nobody else, subject to the application being valid, on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective being potentially undermined. So I thought it right at an early stage to contact Kerry and speak to her about how she would feel about the such an application being made. I spoke to her on the 1st of April. I emailed her on the 3rd of April. I then did go away on holiday for a couple of weeks, and then I chased it on numerous occasions. I think it's 5 occasions I chased the response. I provided Ms. Habibi's date of birth, place of birth, full name and address in order for her to undertake the what's known as a PNC, Police National Computer search. I only got a response to that 2 days ago. And I needed to understand what the police's position was in order to, frankly, advise everybody what the best way forward was. So the reason that we are where we are today, as much as anything, is just due to that response not being forthcoming. And what I didn't want to do then was whack a transfer application in prior to this hearing, well in advance of it. Not well in advance of it, forgive me, because that's just going to confuse things, frankly, and might look like it's some sort of sleight of hand, which it wouldn't be. So I've advised the client just to leave it till after. It's right to say as well, I think I need to, in the interest of frank and full disclosure, the police have said they will object to this transfer. I think it's outrageous that they are, frankly, given the fact that Miss Habibi wasn't present at the time. She was actually in hospital. She'd been in hospital for a few days. In fact, she was unwell around that time. One of the reasons she's wearing a mask today. And she was at Charing Cross Hospital, in fact, issues with her kidneys. And so she instructs me that the cigarettes, and obviously licensing authority may have some comments on this, were a member of staff for personal use. And that is why they were in the shop. That is clearly, I've said to them, that's just, you just can't have members of staff bringing these products in to the shop. It's clearly it's an unsatisfactory state of affairs, and she accepts that. So the position is, in terms of these premises, that Mr. Sultani is not involved anymore, other than to say that he is employed there, and so therefore he's in a position to undertake, or has been in a position to undertake, his DPS responsibilities. But I am instructed, and in fact given undertaking to this effect, that an application to transfer the licence and vary the DPS will be forthcoming from me in the next few days, irrespective of the outcome today, because I want to provide an element of clarity going forward. And I've also advised Ms. Habibi that it may be better in those circumstances that Mr. Sultani is no longer employed at the shop and or involved in it in any way, and that's something that is accepted between them. What has not happened so far, but is going to happen, is there is a sublease, which quite frankly, it's a one-page document. It's not with the paper it's written on currently, but there are discussions ongoing with the landlord about assigning the lease to Miss Habibi. And so the position going forward is that her security of tenure will be more robust, and obviously she will step forward and take the license going forward. Now, look, if the police object, there'll have to be another hearing. If that can't be resolved, well, we are where we are with that. But I would just invite you on that basis to, I think it would be fair to say the premises has tried to engage early on with the police. I don't think that's satisfactory. I have to wait 8 weeks to get a response to what was a straightforward question. I don't think that's satisfactory in any way, actually, particularly given the fact it was chased on numerous occasions. And then I've made an executive decision, I guess, to say to just leave it. Once I got the response, let's just leave things as they are. But those applications will be incoming. You will obviously have questions for Miss Habibi, but she has to. And the Met can't have it both ways. You know, who the review, the license is held by Mr. Sultani. If I transferred it to somebody else halfway through the review, the responsible authorities would say, "Well, hang on, you can't do that. He was a license holder at the time." And I just invite you that there weren't any other cigarettes found. It's a small quantity. She understands fully the need for vigilance going forward. She's here today to answer your questions, and I would just invite you to take that into account when determining what you feel is an appropriate step today. She's been up front. They've both been up front. He is going to uncouple himself from the business. And so I would just invite you to consider it on that basis and on the basis of the undertaking I've given. So from that point, in terms of the license itself, just invite you to turn, if I may, to page 27 in the agenda pack. It's already annexed to, it's already very heavily conditioned. I don't think there are any conditions that are going to assist. I will invite you to remove Mr. Sultani as the DPS. If you feel that this needs to be marked in any way by a suspension, you have discretion to do that. I'm not going to invite you to do that, but certainly you have discretion to do that up to 3 months. But I would just invite you to, if you are minded to do that, to make that for as short a period as possible, given all that I've said on behalf of both my clients today. So that is the application. Just in terms of the cigarette, you may have some questions from Mr. Habibi in particular about the visit and her explanation. I am told by her that the refusal to serve when the officers were in, because the officers were in, that they were there, and she didn't feel that she was allowed to make any sales while the officers were there. I don't think that's an outlandish thing to raise. I think that's actually respectful to Shane and his colleague. So from that point of view, I just make that point. But of course, you'll have some questions, no doubt, for her about the situation. But she's certainly aware now that just can't be any of these products on the premises, even if they are for a member of staff for their own personal consumption. I am told as well, I just had a text, I think it's right to vocalise that the premises are convinced there have been other visits in and around in the last 12 months. It might not be our licensing authority. Mr. Deere, I know, is an extremely honest man, and I don't doubt for a second from his point of view that's the case. But the premises are convinced there have been other visits from some source to check the position of the shop. in respect of illicit goods, and that nothing was forthcoming, and certainly nothing was forthcoming from wider searches in the shop on this visit on the 2nd of March. So those are the representations on behalf of the licence holder. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to deal with them, or my clients will be happy to deal with them as best as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Thank you. Do the licence holders want to add anything to what you've already said? Miriam Bibi, is there anything you want to add to what's already been said by Mr. Craig? Okay, thank you.
Is that
Right,
a no?
if that's the case,
I wasn't clear. Did they say they don't want to say anything, or?
No, I don't want it.
Okay, fine. All right. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Right, if that's the case, I am now going to invite questions from our applicants. Mr. Dare, Mr. Elliott.
Yeah, when we served the first review before we had to serve it again, the person behind the counter, we asked this because Mr. Sultani wasn't present at the time. So we tried to get Mr. Sultani on the phone for him to give him notice of that we're serving the review. On the phone, I noticed it said Mr. Ahmed S on the phone, but when the phone was transferred to me, a lady was present. I'm guessing it was Mrs. Habibi. That's what she said on the phone. So yeah, I question how involved Mr. Sultani, if the premises license was to be transferred to Ms. Habibi, if Mr. Sultani would be completely removed from the business, which I don't really believe. So that's my question.
Sorry, Shane. What is your question? Forgive me. That sounds like more like a statement to me. Happy to answer any questions. I'm not trying to be smart ass, by the way.
Yeah. Mr. Craig, mate, that's my email.
Yeah.
What basically, when the review was served,
Yes.
the shopkeeper was a little bit unsure, so we asked him to contact the premises, the owner, like we always do, and on his phone, the caller ID said Ahmed Sultani, I presume. Sorry.
I could tell you used to be a copper, Mr. Deere.
Thank you.
Don't miss a trick. Yes.
Why was it that Miss Habibi answered? That's the question, basically. Is she related in any way to Mr. Sultani?
That's a question I can't answer. I think only Mr. Sultani and Miss Habibi can answer that. So over to you, please.
Miss Habibi, sorry.
Yes. Only I got a business relationship.
Sorry, sorry, Miss Habibi. It's Wednesday and the fire alarm went off in the building here. Sorry. So, are you related? Is your last name not Sultani?
No. My name is Farishta Habibi. I just, the business relationship.
Okay. While you're there with Mr. Craig's obviously permission, you took over the business in 2019, you say?
Yes.
And you've got a lease that, quite rightly, Mr. Craig has said it's a one piece of paper that probably isn't worth a lot in evidence. So you've been running.
Mr. Deere, Mr. Deere, just got a question. It's a sublease. That's all. It's a sublease. It's a sublease. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Craig. So, Miss Habibi, so you've been running the shop for 3 years.
Yes.
How often are you in the shop?
Maybe once, twice a week, because I'm not feeling well. I got so much problem in my kidney. I got a very bad condition, and I'm not feeling well. And I am just yesterday I'm in the hospital, and if I'm finished for this meeting, I have to go again. I'm not.
Okay, obviously, Mr. Sultani has explained to me anyway, so I apologise for bringing it up. But Mr. Sultani is in the shop a lot more than you. Is that correct?
Yeah, for part-time, yes.
So, a quick question for Mr. Sultani. You had a premises up the road called, well, you still got a premise up the road. It's Don Polsky. Is that correct?
I must.
No, I'm not reading that one because this is for my daughter. Sometimes I just look after them.
Okay.
Per market has that changed?
Can you explain why your name came up on the shop assistant's phone and it went through to Miss Habibi? Her name's not Ahmed Sultani.
I don't know what's because when he called her and she was in the hospital and she answered straight away to him.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sultani. Miss Habibi, you sent an email to
Yes.
an officer on the couple of days after saying you accept full responsibility of those cigarettes being in there, and the member of staff has been let go, and it was for her personal issue. But the times I've been in there, it's the same girl every time. Are you saying it was the girl that was in there on the day?
No. No, it's different girl.
But you haven't got a statement of her to produce today. She's not here today to say she's sorry they were her cigarettes. Is that correct?
Sorry. Can you repeat again? Sorry.
Sorry, I can see you looking. I don't know if Mr. Sultani's daughter is assisting you there, but what I'm saying is you
Yes,
haven't
I'm
brought.
trying to translate what you're saying to her.
Well, I thought her English was very good, actually, but they are. The Miss Habibi has not brought any evidence that the said worker has been sacked. It was her personal use, which is obviously an offence anyway, so she shouldn't be on commercial premises. But she's got no other witnesses here today. Is that correct?
She's not in today, no.
You have passed the licensing course, haven't you?
Yes.
So you know it's an offence to have smuggled goods on a premises that you are running.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
You wasn't there.
Sorry, Mr. Deere, I would just make the point. I think we've dealt with a few of these together down the years. It's pretty unusual. I don't think I've ever come across a situation where a member of staff produces a statement saying that. It would be a bit weird, actually. So it's not. I don't know if you've ever come across that, Mr. Deere, but I certainly haven't.
Mr. Craig, I've seen everything during these hearings, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Duly noted.
Thank you, Chair. No other questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Craig, I was going to say there's no harm in producing a witness statement, if it's available. Okay, councillors, I believe Julian Gallant's got his hand up to ask a question. Councillor Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question about on the statement here from the 2nd of March, and 2 males entered asking for cigarettes. When people come in to buy cigarettes, they usually ask for a brand. They don't usually ask for just cigarettes. Is there any further detail to offer on that? And the other question is, presumably duty paid cigarettes are being sold in the premises as well.
Yes, the gentlemen that walked in, it seems like they're regular customers because they didn't ask for specific brand of cigarettes. They just asked, have you got cigarettes? And the lady just refused to serve them. So it seems like they're regular customers.
Cigarettes are on sale.
And the cigarettes, they sell their duty paid cigarettes as well as the non-duty paid that's found. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Anand?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have a question for Mr. Sultani or Ms. Habibi. Now, in 2019, you were given a review and an additional condition was given for all training must be given to staff regularly. Can you both explain to me how and what training first, Mr. Sultani, can you explain what training you gave and what training you gave to your staff regularly? Can you explain what you trained them or who did? And then the same question for Ms. Habibi.
Apologies,
Yes.
Councillor Anand. Mr. Craig, can you keep your camera on, please? Sorry, you may answer the question now.
Sorry, forgive me. Sorry, Birmingham, they're always telling us to turn the camera off when we're not on, and it's second nature for me to do that. Apologies.
Okay, Councillor Anand's just asked a question to Ms. Habibi and Mr. Sultani.
So can Mr. Sultani, can you first answer this question? What training you had a review on page 27 of the pack, and then all staff must be trained. Can you just explain what training you gave to your staff?
We give them training to the staff to don't sell the cigarette and alcohol for age of above under 18. And also the customers come and enter to the shop. If they are drunk or something, please don't sell it alcohol and cigarette for this customer because they already drank. And also if we are not into the shop, there is any customer is coming drunk or refusing to selling the cigarette and selling the alcohol, if they are shouting and screaming, something like that, just straight away call the police and especially to the local police and give him the local number for the staff as well. And also we had the training about the kids, if it's coming asking for the cigarette or for the alcohol, don't sell it any alcohol or don't sell it any cigarette. And especially this time, there is some new cigarettes coming, the whips, don't sell it for kids and stuff like this.
Thank you, Mr. Sultani. Ms. Habibi, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, the same thing. I just asked to have to ask the ID. If the people want to anything, you have to ask the ID.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gallant, I believe you've got another question. Your hand's up.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's just a very brief one. On the report from the 2nd of March, it indicates a third male entered the shop and immediately proceeded to go behind the counter, picked up a plastic bag, but was stopped by the officer. Do we know who that third male might have been?
Chair, I can answer.
You want to answer that?
Yes. Can you?
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, Chair. Mr. Sultani can tell us who the identity of that man is. I know it is. It's in fact his brother that was in his other shop 30 yards away that I visited on that day with the sniffer dog originally. And when I spoke to him, I told him what was going to happen in that shop. All of a sudden, he ran out the shop with me shouting down the road after him. I wouldn't bother. We've got other officers already down the road. He knew those cigarettes were in that shop, and that's why he went to recover them. But it's his brother. I think Mr. Sultani will agree with that.
Yes, I'm not agree because that was the worker from another shop. They just come in to take some drink and stuff from the backside, and he wouldn't turn to the back of the counter, and we have the CCTV record as well. he wouldn't turn to the back of the casa or something like this. He just come and pick some stuff from the back of the shop. It was drink and stuff.
Yeah, I don't believe. Okay, your brother walked in and I caught him red-handed. He was right behind the counter and he picked up the bag of cigarettes, and that's when I stopped him.
This is not correct. We have a CCTV camera. We have
One person speak at a time, please. Sorry, Mr. Elliott, you can carry on.
Sorry. Yeah, so yeah, he was behind the counter. He picked up the bag of cigarettes, and that's when I stopped him. And then immediately when I stopped him, he walked out the shop. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we've got a difference of opinion here, but certainly as Sultani's position is that wasn't his brother. So you've heard that.
Mr. Craig, can you hold on? Mr. Craig, can you hold on a moment, please? Councillor Anand's got a question.
Of course.
Councillor Anand?
Yes, Ms. Habibi, I have a question for yourself. Can you confirm how many times or if there have been any other visits from the officers of Ealing Council? You have been managing the premises for 3 years. Can you please confirm how many times or have there been any?
2 times.
Mr. Dave, is that right? Can you confirm, is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor. I've been there twice to serve 2 reviews.
Oh, my question is, since 2019, Ms. Habibi, have you had any visits?
Yes.
You have, Mr. Dear. Chair, may I just ask this question to Mr. Dear? Is that correct, Mr. Dear? Since the review of 2019, did you find anything?
That they were non-compliance visits, sir. They were to serve the first review that was had to be reserved because of the different license. So no compliance was actually done on those premises.
Thank you, Mr. Dear. Thank you, Ms. Habibi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, can I just ask Mr. Sultani? I don't think he disagreed that the man that came in that shop was his brother, because 2 things. One, he told me it was his brother. The man admitted it was his brother. And also, when I went back to serve the review with Mr. Elliott here, the man came in the shop again and admitted he was Mr. Sultani's brother. Either that or is his very near enough a twin of his.
I'm disagree with this one because he's worker from another shop and my brother is not working here. He is working in East London.
So, sorry, Chair. So when I asked you about the likeness, and I said, it's your brother, isn't it? You said yes. That I was mistaken, was I? Sorry,
Mr.
Chair.
Sultani, can you answer that?
Can you repeat it again, please?
Yes. When on the day of the visit with the sniffer dogs, when the cigarettes were found, I said to you about the likeness of the man, and it's your brother. You agreed it was your brother. And on the second time, he came in the shop following me when I served the review with Mr. Elliott. You again admitted he was your brother. So am I mistaken twice?
Yes, Mr. Bob, you're right.
So sorry, Mr. Sultani, I need to clarify this. Can I just make this point before I do? I mean, I could have taken instructions on this
Mr.
prior
Craig,
to the hearing.
hold on a moment. Let me just have clarification from Mr. Sultani first. Was he your brother, Mr. Sultani? Did you say yes, he is your brother?
Excuse me, if he's my brother or not brother, it's any worker is come through to the shop. I'm not there. They just take some stuff from the back of the shop. and he wouldn't turn to the back of the casa. And also, I have the CCTV camera. He wouldn't turn. He just come and take some water from the back side, and he just walked down to the shop. He hasn't turned to the back side of the till.
Mr. Sultani, was he your, just
Okay,
needs to
Mr.
be clear on
Craig?
this, was he your brother or not?
Yes, it was my brother.
Right. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
sorry, I misunderstood. I think we all did, actually, to be fair. Okay, well, there we are. But you've got your answer.
Okay, are there any other questions? Right, Hetty, I think this is where I need your assistance.
Sorry, what assistance do you require, Councillor?
I
think we're at the stage where you're closing.
Sorry?
This is at the stage where you're closing.
Yes.
So the reviewing officer will close if there's anything he wants to add, and then the same opportunity will be given to Mr. Craig on behalf of the premises licence holder.
Thank you, Hetty. Councillor Annan's got a question.
Yes, Chair, sorry. This has just come to, I just want to get one clarification from Mr. Dear and Mr. Elliott. I just need clarification, please. Have we received any other complaints other than this complaint about the premises selling illicit cigarettes from 2019 to date?
Yes, we have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just ask a follow-up question in relation to that, please, Shane, if you don't mind? So you made some reference to it in the review application. So you've received some intel. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fine. Thank you.
Okay, right. If that's the case, and if there's no other questions, we can actually have time now to confer, if that's the case. Can we have, say, we meet up in about 30 minutes, but I will leave it to...
Chair, I might be mistaken, but I believe each party should sum up.
You're right, sorry, I beg your pardon. I've skipped it. It's on the next page. I do apologize. Yes, thank you, Cornelia. Right, I'm going to invite the applicant to sum up now, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the second review at these premises within 3 years. We've heard that there's been a change of lessee, but Mr. Sultani still works in that shop and has still got control of that shop. His brother works up the road. It's a real family business. And be quiet, Chair, if Miss Habibi is running that premises, she's, in my opinion, got illicit cigarettes on her premises, exactly like Mr. Sultani had. So we're going down the same route. So I think the right decision is to revoke this license.
Thank you, Mr. Dear. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll now invite Mr. Craig to sum up.
Thank you, Chair. I've just had a text actually from Mariam. I think it's right to say that I think the issue they take with what the officer, well, particularly Shane, because he was there, have said is that the Mr. Sultani's brother didn't actually go to the cashier. He actually went to the back of the storage to pick up some cans of drink. So that's the account, and it's therefore it's disputed that that part of the account that the licensing authority gave. Look, we obviously I presented the position to you in a full and frank way. and I would submit in those circumstances revocation is excessive. There've been no other. Intel can take lots of different forms. Intel can range from highly credible sources, verifiable sources, to an anonymous phone call, and so does make the point that what one set of cigarettes, that if this was occurring on an ongoing basis, then presumably the levels of intel would reflect that. And so just invite you, first of all, to remove Mr. Sultani's DPS. I will then make the appropriate applications to transfer the license and to vary the DPS, because obviously whatever decision you make won't take effect for 21 days. And to suspend the license for as long a period as you deem to be appropriate. I don't accept that revocation is appropriate in these circumstances. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Thank you so much. And thank you, both parties. Right, this is where we're going to be going off for deliberation. It may take half an hour, it may take 45 minutes, but the clerk will contact you, and we will come back online and deliver our decision. So if we can go off YouTube now, please, Cornelia.
Chair, could I just ask, sorry, forgive me. No,
do you want to ask while it's still live, or do you want to ask afterwards?
Just simply, are we going to say it's going to be at least half an hour? Is it okay if we're not available for at least half an hour? Is that okay? Or what do you say? Or do we need to be?
We need half an hour to make our decision.
At least. Okay,
yes, at
fine.
least half an hour.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.